In a time when lines between cultural celebration and spiritual allegiance are becoming increasingly blurred, celebrities often find themselves standing at the intersection of influence, identity, and theology. This intersection is no longer just a crossroads of belief, but a stage where faith and fame perform side by side, sometimes in harmony, often in tension. What prompts this shift in belief? For many public figures, it's more than rebellion or trend. It's the result of weariness, wounds, and the pursuit of wholeness in a world that feels increasingly fractured, in an industry where image is everything and control is currency. Spirituality becomes both a personal refuge and a public performance. Some turn inward to reclaim a sense of self before colonization, seeking power in the practices and pantheons of pre-Christian cultures. Others reinterpret their childhood faith to fit a broader spiritual landscape that feels more inclusive, more empowering, more on trend. But that shift often comes at a theological cost, one that is rarely examined when the lights are flashing and the designers are applauding. But there's another layer often overlooked: the media's role in shaping and reinforcing these spiritual shifts. With power comes responsibility, and yet the media seldom exercises that responsibility with transparency. Without our attention, their platforms wouldn't exist, so to maintain relevance, they must construct narratives, manufacture fascination, and feed illusion. The media thrives on curated personas and elevated aesthetics. It elevates cultural symbolism as empowerment, while strategically sidelining deeper spiritual accountability. In short, they help make the shift appear desirable, even holy, while quietly stripping away the need for truth. When we watch without discernment, we become participants in that illusion. They are not just reporters of what happens, they're often directors of what we see. And behind that editorial control is often a system of separation, separating faith from identity, God from culture, and the sacred from the popular. It is not always overt, but it is ever present, subtle mechanisms that reshape belief through repetition and spectacle. When Taraji Henson walked into the 2025 Met Gala adorned in gold, radiating the elegance of a goddess, she made headlines not just for her beauty, but for the power she claimed to channel. Osun, gotcha, deity of love, beauty, and fresh waters. But for many who know her as a devoted Christian, a question emerged louder than the cameras clicking around her. Why Osun and not Jesus? This is not about canceling or criticizing. This is a serious and thoughtful reflection on the tensions between cultural expression, ancestral spirituality, and the foundations of the Christian faith. Christianity and a theological fork in the road. The spiritual and divination system, rooted in Yoruba tradition, honors Olódùmarè, a supreme creator, and a multitude of Orisha who govern different aspects of the world and human experience. Osun is among the most beloved a representation of divine femininity, fertility, and emotional intelligence. In these, Orisha are real spiritual beings, not metaphors. Christianity, by contrast, does not allow for intermediaries other than Christ. The Bible says, "I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me." John 14:6. And again, "You shall have no other gods before me." Exodus 22:3. So, the moment a Christian publicly honors a spiritual force other than God or Jesus, a conflict arises. Even if it is done in the name of art, homage, or culture, the spiritual signal is unmistakable. You may not feel the conflict, but by the faith you proclaim, it still exists. What was behind the scenes? This is what we should be asking. Not just what was worn or said, but what was spiritually stirred behind the curtain. Has Taraji's spiritual journey evolved into something more pluralistic? Has pain pushed her closer to her ancestral roots? We know she has faced deep struggles. Public vulnerability about mental health, industry pressure, and aging in Hollywood, disappointments in love, and rolls the pain of success, still feeling empty and through it all. It seems she has been searching for power, healing, and meaning beyond the typical Hollywood answers. But here's the thing. Christianity is not powerlessness. It's not aesthetic. It is a calling to submit, to carry a cross, to say, "Not my will, but yours." If we're being honest, many celebrities are beginning to see Jesus as limiting, but see Orisha as liberating. Yet, ironically, itself is a system, structured, hierarchical, and bound by ritual. just like any religion. So what is the real appeal? Mechanism of separation. Perhaps the answer lies in the very mechanism of separation. The illusion that power must be reclaimed from outside the Christian tradition. As if God somehow stopped being God for Africans, or as if Jesus was the oppressor. Yes, Christianity was used by colonizers, but it was also lived authentically by many Africans long before the slave ships arrived. Yes, it was manipulated to justify slavery, but it also fueled abolition, resistance, and revolution. So, is the turn to Osun a rejection of whitewashed Christianity, or a subtle rejection of Christ himself? Contrast. Terrence Howard's views. Taraji's former co-star, Terrence Howard, has publicly expressed his own non-traditional spiritual beliefs, rooted in numerology, sacred geometry, and a desire to find universal patterns. He too has turned away from Orthodox Christianity, believing in a kind of mechanical, divine intelligence. Are we witnessing the same transformation in Taraji, or is hers something else entirely? Could it be that these performers who once played desperate characters in hustle and flow are now desperately flowing through spiritual currents they don't fully understand? No one can serve two masters. No one can serve two masters. Either you will hate the one and love the other, or you will be devoted to the one and despise the other. Matthew 6:24. This isn't a metaphor. It's a line in the sand. Either Jesus is Lord or he is not. Either Osun is a symbolic tribute or a spiritual rival. We can't redefine the terms of divine loyalty because of aesthetics or ancestral longing. We can honor our roots, but we must never confuse identity with divinity. Honest questions for the reader. If Taraji had worn a golden crown and said she was honoring Jesus, would the media have celebrated her just as much? Why are spiritual expressions of Yoruba deities praised, but public displays of Christian devotion are often dismissed as cringe or outdated? Are we as a culture embracing symbolic power over spiritual truth? Are we mistaking fashion and homage for faith and worship? Final reflection. God is light. God is love. I do not write this from a place of condemnation, but from conviction. I believe, as many do, that God is not a concept, but a presence. He is light. He is love. He is everywhere, including the Met Gala. But light cannot be split without casting shadows, and love cannot be divided without losing truth. As for me, I am a reflection of the reflection the Creator saw of himself. I carry his breath, his intention, and his grace. So I ask, not out of judgment, but out of love, why not Jesus? Osun was the tribute, but Christ is the King, who was really being lifted up that night.